Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. Hurry back and join us for the Macomb Library for the Blind and the Physically Handicapped. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. Today, Macomb Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. Our guest is Linda Chapman. Hi, Linda.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
I'm glad you could be here, Linda. Linda, I'm sorry, I should have gave you a formal title, which is you're the director, library director?
At the Macomb Library for the Blind,
okay.
right.
Okay, and Linda, normally we have a few questions that we ask our guests, and I'd like to start off with, can you give us the history on the Macomb Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped?
Sure, we're just one of the baby libraries right now. We're a sub-regional library of the Library of Michigan, same program, but we just opened up January 17th of 1983, and like I said, we're one of the youngest sub-regional libraries in Michigan as well as across the nation. But the former director, who was the very first director of the Library for the Blind, before there was a Library for the Blind in Macomb, saw that statistics were falling in her division, which is the Special Services Division. And what could she do to counter that and make better services? So she investigated Library for the Blind, and starting in 1979, and by the time all the paperwork went through and all the logistics, the Library for the Blind was kind of born in Macomb, January 17th, 1983, and we're real proud to have it in Macomb County. And we do serve all of the Macomb County residents with this library service. Not to say that this service is not available all throughout Michigan, as well as through the United States, as well as any United States resident who's living abroad also qualifies for the service and would be served out of Washington, D.C. So we're a small branch of the bigger service out of the Library of Congress National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, which started in 1931, by the way. Congress passed an act called the Pratt-Smoot Act in 1931, enabling people who have vision problems, specifically being blind, library services and materials. And that's when it all started in 1931, and just a handful of libraries throughout the United States participated in that initial program. And now it's just spread like wildfire, and we're just, like I said, proud to be part of this service.
Now you say it's a combination of blind and physically handicapped?
Correct. Like I said, it started out in 31 just to serve people who were blind, and it was set up that way to serve, everything goes through the United States mail, postage free for our patrons, so anytime they return machines or they return books that they've read, everything never has to be paid for postage. As long as they go through the U.S. mail, that's all picked up as part of the service.
Okay. Now, if a person should come to the library that does not have a physical disability or is not blind, they still can use the library as such?
They can't use the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped unless they are certified by a doctor or a medical professional, somebody like that attesting to their physical disability. And I know you had asked me earlier, and I didn't quite finish it. People who are blind, that's how the program first started, with the big lobby of people who are blind in 31. So the program was just limited to individuals who are blind. Over the years, it's expanded, and Library of Congress National Library Service has decided, wow, there are more people out there who could really use the talking book program than just people who are blind. They expanded it first to people who have vision problems, not who are legally blind, but who have severe vision problems. Then in 1952, they decided maybe there are children out there who could use the service. So they started recording materials in 1952 for children. So from 31 to 1952, there's a big difference in there, but they finally realized maybe kids could enjoy the program. And then we go on from there. People who have 20/20 vision can also be in this program, but they might have crippling arthritis in their hands, which would disallow them of holding a book to read. So we include people with arthritis who have reading disabilities. That was the very last category that was opened up a few years ago. So especially children who have dyslexia or ADD, some of the other reading disabilities, can now enter our program as a person with a physical disability.
So what is your staff made up of? I mean, how many persons actually work inside?
We have about 10 people. We have about 4 permanent employees, and then the rest are student aides who assist in checking books in, checking them out, shelving them. You know, libraries, we always have to shelve those books somehow.
Now, are you all, I knew you're a librarian by
Trade.
Okay,
Yes.
by trade. Is there a special educational task force that you have to go through, or program, if you're going to be a librarian that assists persons with disabilities?
Not really. When I received my library science degree from Wayne, I also received a certificate in gerontology, which kind of enhances my service because we do see a lot of senior citizens coming through the program. But no, I wouldn't have even had to have that. But I think you definitely have to have an interest, a desire. Our patrons, because so often they do come in as seniors, they've lost something that they've had previously, mostly vision. Now suddenly they're very dependent on everybody to do everything for them. They've lost the ability to drive. They can no longer get to a library if they were readers. They've lost a lot, so they come into the program a little disgruntled. Okay. And we know that, and I think if you have that certain personality, you'll want to work in the program, and you know people are dealing with very serious losses. It's not just because they can't read, but a lot of other things they can't do any longer.
What about the materials? Are the materials in the library current event materials, like the everyday papers from all over?
Papers are not recorded. We have a service out of Flint, Michigan called Newspapers for the Blind, which is a wonderful service, and it is a free dial-in service for the Detroit News and Free Press daily. And all a patron has to do, they have to register at a library for the blind, and as long as they're one of our patrons or Oakland Library for the Blind or Wayne, whoever has them, they can get the service free by saying, I'm a Macomb Library for the Blind patron, and they get an access code, and they can dial in on their telephone number and press buttons on their push-tone phones just to get, I want to skip the sports section, I want to jump right to the funnies. So that's how the newspaper is done. We don't do it. It's not part of the national program. But the materials that we do have are anything from soup to nuts, fiction to nonfiction, adult to children. We have anything from Dr. Seuss to Danielle Steele, John Grisham, you name it. We have the hot authors, we have the not so hot authors, we have the classics, as well as nonfiction materials too.
Magazines and things come too?
Magazines too, and I'll tell you, I have this is still a book that was recorded on the disc format. They don't record books on discs anymore, but they still do the magazines on disc. And I just want to show you, this is how it would come to you in the mail. There would be a mail card in this pocket here that has your name and address. When you're ready to return it, you would just flip it over, and it would have our name and address, and you just put it in your mailbox, and off it comes back to us. But this is what the magazines are recorded on still this flexible disc format.
Wow.
And you can see it's like the rigid discs we used to have when we were teenagers. Remember those? This is how the magazines come, and most of the magazines, once our patrons are finished reading them, they toss it in the waste paper can just like you and I would our paper subscription. Right. But it's also in Braille and print, so anybody who is a Braille reader can read to see which magazine? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so is it a group of magazines on there, or just one?
It would just be Time magazine or whatever magazine they subscribe to. They can subscribe to all of them, one of them, none of them. You know,
what kind of device is it that they place that on?
Right. This is a record player that I didn't bring along because not that many things come in record format anymore, but we would give them a record player as we do this tape machine. I don't know if you want to hold it or you want me to hold it. But if they qualify when they fill out an application for library service for any library for the blind throughout the United States, once they're approved for service, we send them out a cassette machine if they have requested materials in cassette format. So we send them that machine, and it has a few special bells and whistles on it that a normal commercially produced machine would not have. One button speeds up the sound or slows it down, so kids who are taking notes for classes who may have vision problems can slow it down so they can take the notes without having to rewind all the time.
And a regular cassette tape goes in here.
Right. Now there is a switch now. The government records their cassettes in 4-track mode. So just like you and I, we'd put a tape in, listen to side 1. When it's over, you'd flip it over and turn it on side 2. But the trick with this machine and what the government does, because they do not condense any book that comes out. So one of those John Grisham or James Michener, you know, those print books are like this big. So there are a number of cassettes, but they crunch all the information in so they can get everything in very economically, you know, the government. So when they turn it over to side 1 again, they flip a switch on that cassette machine, which allows them to listen to track 3. They turn it over to side 2, and it plays track 4. So they get 4 tracks out of one tape. But the tapes look just normal, just like the ones you and I would get out of a regular public print library that have talking books. But the secret with this is everything is here. They read the dust jacket information.
That's the entire book with the index and context and all that, and then when it stops at a certain point, you flip it over.
And it will tell. I have listened to these. It tells you, turn it over to side 2. You turn it over to side 2, and before side 2 is finished, it will tell you. Before you turn it over in side 3, to listen to track 3, you flip the switch so people don't forget, because you'd hear side 1 again unless you flipped a switch. So it's real tricky.
Well, I think we're learning a lot here today about the Library for the Blind, and most definitely informative information. Linda, let's take a brief commercial and come back to some more of these things here so our listening and viewing audience can get get some more education.
Super.
Be right back.
My hero, Isaiah Thomas, Kevin Costner, Mr. Wall.
These are teachers, but to the kids they've reached, they're heroes.
My hero, Mrs. Wooten. If I don't get through to that child, who knows, maybe no one else will.
Teachers have the power to wake up young minds, to be heroes, to make a difference. Reach for that power. Teach. Find out how by calling 1-800-45-TEACH. Be a teacher. Be a hero.
Hi, welcome back to the second half of the show. We have Linda Chapman, Library Director for the Macomb Library for the Blind and Physical Handicapped. We were just going over some materials with Linda, what they have to offer at the Library for the Blind and Physical Handicapped. And so, Linda, I wanted to go around the table here a little bit and ask you about, I noticed that you have a movie, a video.
Right.
Okay, so can you tell us how does this work?
Okay. 2 or 3 years ago, one of my patrons said, "Why aren't you getting descriptive videos?" And I kept seeing these things go around, but it never hit me. It was kind of like if I had a V8, you know, I would have been doing like that. But what these videos are, and I brought Waiting to Exhale because it's one of the newer ones. It's just the same video you and I would watch on our VCR machine at home, but for someone who is blind or has a vision problem, they're missing some of the action or scenery. So when they put that video in their machine, they don't have to do anything else but just put it in, and there's a voice narrator that comes on the screen to explain scenery, credits. So even though they are not seeing those things, someone is explaining it to them or describing, and that's how descriptive videos came to be.
So at this point, if there's a piece of action going on, say like the violent scene, then the voiceover person or the narrator is saying violent scene taking place, man hitting woman, something like that.
Or man with knife attacks. Exactly.
Okay. I didn't mean that, people. Okay.
But the real nice thing, they do the Disney movies, they do the feature-length adult movies, not real adult, but adult movies.
Now let me ask you this. Now, what if a person is hearing impaired, profoundly deaf? Are there closed captions?
I think some of the things are closed captioned, but because they are closed captioned, I can't tell you that for sure. But the voice narration doesn't have a special decoder device. It's automatically there. So you don't have to set it up any differently than a regular VCR.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you about this telephone here.
I brought that because it's a little bit different.
It's not a regular telephone, everyone. Can you get a close-up on that?
It's called a louder ear, and these go through the mail, or somebody can pick these up. What they are is you turn it on and you place it up to your ear, and it's a hearing device basically. So if somebody needs a little assistance, maybe in a meeting, you wouldn't want to hold that up to your ear for hours on end. You'd want your hearing aid or whatever. But if you think you're going to be in a big crowd for a tour for a couple hours, that just enhances the sound. And we do loan these out, again, free of charge. All our materials at the Library for the Blind are postage free and free of charge. We never charge rental fees or overdue fines.
No, this is very nice, because I can hear you real clearly, and it's like somewhat of an echo, but it's nice and clear.
Good.
So did we get a good shot of that? This is nice. This is really nice.
And like I said, this is just an adjunct service at Macomb. All the libraries for the blind, one nice thing about them, we have the same basic services, but some of the libraries have decided to do some things over other things. So I have chosen to really excel with descriptive videos because I know it's so good, and we serve the whole state of Michigan, by the way. Other libraries for the blind in Michigan have descriptive videos, not always as many, and some have not chosen to buy descriptive videos because of budget or whatever.
Right.
So we serve whoever calls
So if
us.
a person basically wanted to rent these things out, they would come in and sign a receipt or release form.
Right.
And they have X amount of days to keep them.
Right.
And return them.
Right.
Now, do you have a lot of these things on shelf, on stack?
Our descriptive videos, we have about 190, but that is everything that is possibly out there right now.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm real proud
and
to
you
say.
have a current flow coming in, so you have new movies and things
Right,
coming in all the time?
right. When they make them, we buy them. But the problem is the producers making them. You know,
Okay.
they're a little bit slower than the demand we have.
I just enjoy the fact that they're doing it.
Right.
Okay, now this brochure here, deaf or hearing impaired, here's what our library can do for you. So this is material or information letting the people who are hearing impaired and profoundly deaf know what services is
Right. We know that people who are deaf don't often use libraries, and we want to entice them coming in. They feel intimidated by us librarians. I don't know why, but we want to be
not
user-friendly,
sure. Okay.
and we just want to let you know that we have like louder ear, and we have like TDD machines. And we also loan these out free of charge,
Okay.
and often our patrons come in because their telephone machine has broken, so they'll come in and rent this for a couple weeks usually. If they need it for longer, if there's no demand, I let them have it, you know.
Okay.
We're
So
real
you can
flexible.
actually rent out.
TDDs if yours breaks down, or if you're having a relative who comes into out of
I
town.
shouldn't say rent out because you're just signing it out, right? So there's no money.
Right, no money whatsoever.
This
Get
is
that?
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
The
this is
deaf
really
materials usually are free, and you don't have to be a member of the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped to rent things like this out. To get the tape machines, the record players, things like that, you do have to sign up as a library member.
Now this brochure here, not everyone can read print.
And that just touts the Library for the Blind. And if you read that, basically that same information from Macomb, which we produce, that is valid all across the United States.
Okay.
We also do large print books for people who are visually impaired. Now, they don't have to technically be a Library for the Blind member. They do have to sign, but they can come in and check out large print books through us, again, with no overdue fines, and we like to promote that a lot.
Now, is this the one you all mail out all the time? Reading is for everyone? I know.
That's the one that usually the National Library Service out of Washington will mail out to people to subscribe. Sometimes people hear about the Library for the Blind, but here I am in Macomb, but let's say somebody from Washington State were in this area and saw your wonderful program, and they said, Library for the Blind, well gosh, they would contact Washington, D.C. with an 800 number, and Washington would refer them to the right library in their area.
Okay, now I must mention, Linda, the way we ended up coming in contact with you was that someone had read the ad in the paper that Just Ask Talk Show was looking for guests to appear on the show, and we had no idea that the Macomb County area had information on us, and we're in a different area.
Right.
So I was more than happy to contact you and ask you, to come on the show, because really I want to thank you personally for having that ad in the paper, and hopefully, people in Macomb County get a chance to see the show.
Right, I'm hoping. I'm telling everybody about it. So.
Okay, but we were very pleased. I mean, I was getting postcards,
Great.
phone calls, and letters stating that they would, be interested in coming on the show, that they had something they wanted to talk about, or resources they wanted to share. And I kept noticing the address was saying Macomb. And I'm like, we don't service Macomb. Well, not that we don't service, but we had not broadcast that far just yet, which we hope to, rectify
I hope so
that
too.
matter
You're
shortly.
doing a wonderful
and
service.
so I, want to thank you personally for
Oh, no problem
coming on the
whatsoever.
show, and definitely giving us the opportunity to be in your paper. I did have a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. Now, what is the type of funding source that the library has, since it's nonprofit?
Right. Well, the federal government is the big guy in this whole service. The federal government obviously produces the machines, our software to run our computers, and technical support in case we break down. They do all the talking books, whether in cassette or disc format. So that's the big part of the funding. The post office, is also part of this program. And we also get money from the Library of Michigan, which is our big sister library, I like to say. And we also get county funding. And people send us gift money all the time too. You know, $10 here and there, sometimes bigger than that. But you know, even the little bit helps, right. And that's how we started out with our descriptive videos with gift money, because people had kind of tapped at that service and said, we'd really kind of like that. So
that's nice. So you are expanding as you go on.
Oh, of course. This program was just talking books and records when it first started out in 1983. Never a thought of descriptive videos. They weren't around for people who were blind at that point. And all the other technology that we've rented out has come since '89. So yeah, anytime I see something that I think we can rent that out, we can do that free, we can hold it at the library, what better place to come and get equipment that you don't need all the time, but when you need it, and you don't want to spend $200 or more for a TDD when a relative is coming in who may have hearing problems and needs a TDD. So anything that I think is library material of some type, I get it.
That's really nice. You know, because I've often wondered, for as far as motion pictures, theatrical events and everything, is there a cutoff where persons with, you know, disabilities don't get a chance to enjoy the same things that, you know, everyday people do? And so this is very helpful, and I'm sure that the public will enjoy knowing that they can rent the videos. Right. You know, because that's something that everything now is almost video programmed, and it's like, well, why can't I see it? And I have closed caption on my television, so just in case I miss something, you know, verbally, I get a chance to read it down below, and I'm much happier with that.
Right.
You know.
Right. Exactly. I have a mother who really kind of pushed me into the descriptive video program, and I'm so glad she did. You know, it was like the V8 type of thing, but she said even I listen as her daughter would watch the video and listen to the description. She said, I'll be doing housework, and like, she can enjoy it that way too. So she's fully sighted, you know, and can actually appreciate a video when she's busy at work. So it's always amazing. You think you're doing it for one segment of the population, like handicapped access, but those mothers pushing those baby carts, you know, they have appreciated that handicapped access and ramps and things. And sometimes you don't think, you think you're doing it just for a small portion of the population, but really it's amazing how much it spins off. And
so the entire library is handicap accessible?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we make sure, especially since the Library for the Blind in Macomb is at the Macomb County Library, which is a public print library for all Macomb County residents, because I'm kind of there. They are especially try and keep up with code.
Well, they're on their P's and Q's is what
That's right.
So.
And they come to me sometimes, how much space do we have to allow between stacks so someone in a wheelchair can get through? They'll come to me, and I usually have those
statistics.
statistics.
Do you have law books on your shelves?
Not in the Library for the Blind, but we do in the county library, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in case a person with a condition wants to, you know, find out what is the law for if I need the widening of the door space or the lowering of the lights.
But they still can contact me, because I keep those kind of materials for accessibility rights on file too.
So do you feel like an advocate, Linda?
I do. Yeah, I do.
You're such a cheerful person, so I can tell.
I like my work and I like my patrons. Like I said, you know, maybe we have a cranky person here or there, but you just have to know why they may be cranky. But I would say 95 to 99% of our patrons are so pleasant. They're so appreciative. And you know, when it does happen and people die and they still have been using the service, the wonderful things we hear from the relatives who come in to return the material say, they couldn't have made it that long, you know, without the talking books to guide them along and to cheer them up, you know, or to make them cry, whatever books do for you.
That's good. We're going to make sure that our audience gets a chance to see the literature, and we noticed that you have a poster here with your phone number and address. Is that address on there, or just
I don't think the address
number?
Is on there.
Okay, but you can give out your address if you'd like for us. And
the Macomb Library for the Blind is located at 16480 Hall Road in Clinton Township, Michigan, and our phone number is area code 810-286-1580, and that gets you directly into the Library for the Blind. We do have a TDD number, which is area code 810-286-1580. 888-452-9940. And you're welcome to call me, even if you don't live in Macomb County. We're more than happy to spread the word around and tell you, here's the number for the Oakland County Library for the Blind, the Wayne County, the Detroit Sub-Regional Library. Wherever you need to be placed, if you call me, I'll let you know where we can refer you, and we'll do that for you. We're always happy. We just want people in the program. You know, librarians, they like to push books at people regardless of format.
That's okay.
So
you're pushing good material and good news, and you're an angel. So
Well,
don't worry
thank you.
about it. I'm sure the audience, our viewing and listening audience, will enjoy the show very much.
I hope so.
And we'll do, make sure that we air the number again and get a
Great.
close up on it. So in case you get those phone calls, and please, by all means, keep sending us guests. We'll be more than happy to have
super. Right.
have them come out and see us. Well, Linda, we're getting ready to close the show. Like I always like to thank you. You can come again at any time.
Well, super, thanks.
Keep us posted of any changes or upcoming events. And
I
we'll
will.
definitely, ask you to come back again anytime.
Okay, great.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, anyone who's interested in coming on the show, please give us a call at area code 248-988-0250. And that's our 24-hour hotline production number. So you can call us anytime, leave us a message. We'll be glad to call you back and have you come on the show for the future. And as I always close, don't forget, if you know someone with a disability, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. I'm your host, Marsha Florence. Thank you.
Superhero? Yeah, I guess that I am. I help save kids from vicious monsters. I help feed the hungry. I'll even help rescue people from natural disasters. I give to the United Way. It's a lot easier than changing clothes in a telephone booth.